Well, here we go. Back for more. I am so glad to have you guys here. I'm going to jump right into the episode today and ask the question, why coaching? Why why would you want to be coached? What does coaching look like today in our fast-paced business environment? Is it valuable to you? Why or why not? These are some important questions I want to pose to you today on the episode of the Intelligent Human Leadership. My goal is always to bring you valuable content and ideas to consider that help really move the needle in you being successful in your business, whether you're a business owner or a leader in your organization. And so I want to lead with this because this was pivotal for me. And if you go back to some past episodes, you'll see we've talked about conquering ego for growth. We've talked about how to invest in yourself. That was one of the earlier episodes in the podcast series. So if you're just coming new to the podcast, just catching this episode, I encourage you to go back and listen to those previous ones. But I want to talk with you today about coaching. It's different than consulting. It's different than training and even teaching, and so or mentoring. Although these are related, they have definitely some shared traits. I'm talking about coaching today. Any of you that have been in any kind of sport most likely had a coach because even if it's a single sport, meaning you're not on a team, you will learn from somebody that helps you in giving personal guidance, helping you with accountability, giving you strategic advice, helping you provide emotional support. What I find is this is honestly vital to your success. Um, can you go without a coach? Absolutely. Many people go without a coach, and they actually have some success, I would say. But the success that you can have with a coach is so much more measured and, on my experience, much more powerful and in your advancement sped up, uh, much more than going on your own. So I want you to just consider this. Number one, do you have a coach? If you don't have a coach, why or why not? What's been your history? What's been your background dealing with coaches? Now, I'll tell you, I did not have a coach. I was not coached. Was not something in my horizon. Now, I got technical training. I was taught some great things, and this is all post college for me. I graduated with my degree, got into the workforce. I got some great technical skills and some training. Um, I did find a mentor or two along the way, which I was really thankful for. Not everybody has that. Um, but what I found where I've advanced the quickest and had the most impact on my life has been engaging with coaching. And I would tell you, I was resistant uh, for a time there because I thought my technical knowledge was enough. And I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I realized there's a couple different areas externally where I could be made aware of different conditions, environments that just wasn't clear on. We're not all experts in all areas. We don't, we haven't been around and done everything. And so coaches, well, they are able to help you, in my mind, get you clarity and are further along in the journey. For example, I was new to the area of marketing and certain things, and I had a coach, uh, and they helped me see some different things I just didn't see or couldn't even consider. Um, from the words that I used to the presentation that I had, and so they were looking at some of the things, both externally around me, and they also helped me in this journey of internal growth as well. So there's external things that I could work on, and internally, my own personal development, how I make decisions, how I lead myself, my emotional intelligence, if you will, my EI, my and so a coach is able to help you with your mindset, the way you think. And so this was this is critical for me, and I want to encourage you to think about this because sometimes we just look at technical skills and we can hire a consultant. A consultant is more an expert in a particular area. They're going to come in, they're going to really more assess and tell you what you need to work on. While our coach is guiding you and pointing you and asking you questions, I think that's important. A coach is going to be asking you a lot of questions in a good way because they're trying to unpack and open your mind to what can be. And if you're closed off, you can really miss that opportunity. Think about how coaching can provide new perspectives, like I said, help you with this self-reflection, create a growth mindset. Think about that when you limit yourself, when you put a cap on it, essentially. Um, that inhibits not only your growth, but it inhibits the growth of those around you, particularly if you're leading a team. I found and I've seen this in my life where there's individuals I've been working under, and they basically have turned off the switch to growth and being coachable. Well, if you're turning that switch off, let me tell you, it will affect those around you. It will absolutely affect those around you. And unfortunately, in my experience, it's a negative. And if people get that sense, they're like, this person's not coachable, they can't be approached, they've got a fixed mindset, um, they've got a fixed way of understanding and approaching things. Think about the damage and the limiting um, way of being. You're literally limiting your being. That if you have people that want to grow and expand and they hit that ceiling, they are at best likely to stay with less engagement, and they're not being as productive as they can be in your organization. And worse is they leave the company or organization altogether, meaning you continue to have to try and find new people in, and that is draining and limiting as well because there's only so many people you can bring in. I was just talking to a colleague today about that, where she had worked with a company, very big company, publicly traded company, and there was a fixed mindset, and there was like, "Hey, we don't need to change anything. We're good." And they would not allow outside voices to come in and provide a different perspective and a look at things in maybe helping them actually be healthier overall. And so I want to encourage you to think about this. What's your short-sighted or long view of coaching and how it may or may not help you? Um, if you think it not may not help you, I want to encourage you to look and see maybe you've had a negative experience because I talked about this actually recently on the Business Roundtable podcast, which is another podcast I host. If you guys are interested, we get business owners on that one as well, and it's a roundtable format where we talk and share insights. And we were talking about a related topic in here in coaching and how to find the right coach. Um, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm passionate about that. Owning, steward your business, and helping business owners and your teams lead themselves better, right? And well, lead yourself well and lead your team. So, how do we avoid these pitfalls and challenges from being uncoached? So, there is oftentimes misalignment, and so a coach is going to help you in that. So, let's just use I'll use marketing as an example, right? If we are having difficulty understanding and adapting to market trends and maybe customer needs without um, understanding of this, how do we navigate this and get feedback? We may be continuing in misalignment and we're not getting the results we really, really desire. Again, a coach will ask you good questions. And if you don't have the answers, that's okay. You don't have to have this as the answer, but you're going to discover them together. you know why aren't my clients responding to me in this way? Why am I not getting in the sales, or why am I struggling in retaining existing clients? And so the coach is going to ask you some questions and help you get clarity as to, well, why do you want those clients? What is important to them? What is driving customer success? Um, and helping you to understand that. Perhaps it's, you know, looking at, building a network. This is the thing I find with coaching is really, really important. A lot of times when we go it alone, right? We have no other people to talk to, not just our coach, but hopefully, one of the things I specialize in is both individual and group coaching, and there's power in both. Um, and I would say, honestly, I would look for both opportunities where you can be coached one on one, if not if and if nothing else, and maybe like what I call a hot seat or in a group setting, but you could be coached one on one, or be in a group setting where you have a coach, but you also have a cohort or a group that you're a part of. Um, Oftentimes, what we find in leadership, or for me, I grew up, in the environmental consulting world, right? And I was grew up to be a biologist. I knew how to do field surveys and monitoring, but I didn't have a community I can connect with and talk with outside of the technical skills, which I appreciated that. I am and have been a member of organizations like the Wildlife Society and other professional organizations. Some of them do address coaching. Sometimes it's more mentorship. And I think that it's important to understand what you need, where you're at in your journey of becoming a better leader. Mentorship absolutely is valuable. And again, coaching and consulting are all valuable. Just depends on where you're at in your journey. And that's something I help address. Again, I can't address all the questions, all the problems here on the podcast, but I want to give you guys some tools and some things to consider and to help you be the smartest, most impactful leader, intelligent in the room, leading yourself well and leading your team. So, here, some other things I want you to consider. Um, Oftentimes, internally, we may have roadblocks, meaning we may be overconfident or underconfident. Um, Neither are good. We want to be, have an appropriate level of confidence. We don't want to be overly confident or underconfident. So how do we assess that, right? How do we assess whether we're overestimating or underestimating our own abilities or that of our team members? Because remember, coaching is you and your team. It'll affect everybody. Once you involve a coach, it that will cascade down from how you're showing up to them. So if you have a coach, they're objective, they're a third party. This is where it's important to have somebody outside of your organization. Because think about this, if you have somebody inside, as much as they try to be objective, they are subjective within the organization because they're a part of the organization. I'm not just saying that they can't coach and you can't be coached by somebody within an organization, but it's much more powerful, in my experience, to have somebody outside of the organization because they are detached. All they are concerned about is your outcome, your support, getting your victory, and they're not. I mean, and that should be part of the organization, but they're not tied in there. So think about this: getting objective feedback is vital. That you can get that from a coach, and sometimes owners may be overconfident, or as a new, maybe a new supervisor, or you're put in a new place of leadership, you may be underestimating or doubting your abilities. So this is where a coach can help you in your mindset. Number one, is your mindset being overconfident and putting yourself or your team in jeopardy because you think of all these things that you can do, and you're like not getting the right feedback because your team honestly won't tell you this. This is something I've learned over the years. I was an executive in one of the companies, and I would talk to the team and I'd say, please share your feedback. Please let me know. I would literally ask for it. And yes, some would share, absolutely, but there was others that wouldn't share because I didn't ask them. It was because they had a self-limiting belief or a way of understanding, and they're like, I can't bother David. I can't. bother the owner of the company. They're too busy. And so there was a mindset there, but a coach can come in and kind of unravel that, if you will, and help open that up and to get and ask questions that and get them to open up and share that you wouldn't get otherwise. Because as a business owner or sometimes as a higher level executive, as much as you want to get that from them, they are not open for different reasons. And so a coach is going to help you peel back the overconfidence or underconfidence and get clearer on where you really need to be and get you in alignment, like we talked earlier about when you might be misaligned. Um, Coaches are also going to be really good at helping you identify burnout, maybe stress in your life. And when we have, uh, 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 again, misalignment or we're off balance, right? A coach is going to ask you some pointed questions. A good coach is going to ask you this because they know that they've been there. Um, a coach should coach from what they live and where they've been. In my experience, I was looking for coaches 5 or maybe 10 years ahead of me. Not that you can't get somebody that's 25, 30 years ahead of you. The problem is they're so far ahead that that they can kind of try to remember back. But you find a coach that's, you know, further ahead of you that they remember. They were in your spot. They know what you've been going through. And so a coach should be able to speak to that. Um, and be clear. And if that's important when you're looking for a coach, you want to find somebody that's like, man, they know me. They've been where I've been and they got through it and they're actually better for it. They're doing better now than they were back then. I would love to have had a coach when I was first doing this multi-million dollar contract that I had in my career. Um, about 10 years in or so into my career, maybe a little bit more than that, I took on a multi-million dollar contract, the biggest I've ever had. In fact, the biggest that ever was in the company at that time. Um, and I didn't really have anybody to coach me on how to handle that. I really burned out. I was really trying my best to take care of my team. I literally went from like 3 biologists that I was managing to dozens at some point. It was just so much in working with multiple companies and contractors and schedules, and it was like I was I was stressed. I didn't know how to handle all of it. I would have benefited quite greatly from a coach asking me and helping me prioritize things. Um, and so we run into then philosophical dilemmas here when we can't get clear on our vision versus our reality. Um, we want to create a vision for ourselves, but sometimes um, we lose sight of that. And a coach is going to help us keep the vision alive, if you will, asking us pointed questions. What's working? What's not working? Right? What do we really want? Um, and helping us get there. Sometimes, honestly, we may have complete blind spots there. And this is why it's so important um, for these questions to be asked. Where are you now? What's the fruit of your life? Is it something that you are truly desiring? What do you actually even feel right now? Right? Um, what are the facts that you have in your life and getting clear on those feelings? 'Cause honestly, sometimes we limit those. So a good coach is going to ask you these questions um, and get you clearer on what is working for you. What's the facts of your life? What are you focusing on right now? Because maybe sometimes what we're focusing on isn't the most important thing, right? Um, and what can we do about it, right? This is key to honestly transformation, not just change, but really this idea of how do I transform myself? Um, and as we go through this, it gets us into ultimately the growth that we desire. If we do with a coach, if we don't do this, here's the thing. I mean, honestly, how many of you guys have seen businesses suffer? all of us, right? It's for different reasons, but a lot of it has to do with leaders who weren't coachable. They thought they knew it all. They wanted to hold tight, and they literally crashed the company, if you will. Or you had somebody in the organization that was so strong-headed and I would say maybe ultra overconfident. They couldn't see the blind spots, and that caused damage in the company. Now the damage can be, like I said, on the good earlier, I said maybe your productivity goes down somewhat. You have some lower disengaged staff. But I just talked with another colleague this week, uh, who was telling me about all the negative ways that the company was damaging the employees by, unfortunately, bad leadership. And I think, as much as they were trying to talk and give feedback, they weren't having it. They weren't being coachable. And so this is really, really important. If we don't look at this, we risk the danger of not only hurting ourselves, limiting ourselves in our growth and ability, but it's really affecting those around us. And I don't think anybody intentionally wants to do that. But the reality is, we have a wall of self preservation and we have these tendencies that we want to protect ourselves. Well, the protection is, while that may be a natural sense of it, it actually does more damage and limitations to our growth. Um, and so we have to look at those tendencies. And so why I started this episode off, because I wanted you guys to consider this. Are you coachable? And if your gut was, I don't need a coach, I don't want to coach, I don't need a coach, I wanted to just ask you to look at that story. How is it serving you? How is it getting you what you want? I'm not saying everybody has to have a coach all the time, but I personally invested in coaching years ago, and I continue to, because I wouldn't ask anybody to invest in me in a coach if I wasn't doing it myself. Again, I lead from what I live. That's super, super important. If you embrace coachability for success, you open yourself up to being open minded. You humble yourself, right? You have a willingness to change, to be transformed, and you can take committed action. That is powerful. That is who an intelligent leader really is. I want to encourage you in that journey, in discovering that, because that is great power, and that's who people will follow. People that are open-minded, they have humility, they have a willingness to be coached, to transform, to look at things, to take action, take accountability for themselves, and make positive change in their life. I mentioned earlier, how do you do this, right? Well, one way is look at a coach that offers value. Like, that's why I have this podcast. That's why I want to give you guys information and helping you to say, I'm not asking for anything. I'm giving you and inviting you. If this is something that resonates with you, come and find out some more, and see if the Steward Yourself program is going to help you and get you where you need to be. I do a free discovery call, and I'm right here. I'm recording this on April 1st, 2024, April Fool's Day. Well, you're no fool. You're listening to this podcast. And as I said in the previous podcast, those that want to learn more and have a coaching call with me this month in April, as you listen to this, I'm giving away a free copy of the Communication Code. If you guys watch this on YouTube, you can see me hold up the book. That is another great resource to help you be the most intelligent human leader. So when you invest in yourself, go back to episode 3 if you want to listen to more on that, investing in yourself. This is not an expense, it's an investment. And I was talking to a client today, and we were both agreed. There's a gamble out there. What do you want to invest in? You can invest in the stock market, you can go to the casino, you can buy, things off eBay. You're like, I want to invest in whatever it is you want to invest in. I'm going to say you're the best investment. Bet on yourself. Invest in yourself. Whatever that looks like for you. If Steward Your Business, this resonates for you, and you're like, David, I want to know more, reach out to me. I do a free discovery call. I would love to hear from you. I want to encourage you in this journey. Investigate coaching if you haven't, and discover how it can help you become the most intelligent human leader. I'm so grateful for you guys to listen and to support this podcast. If this resonated with you today, please leave a review, share this with others. This is important because it helps me reach others. And, maybe there's somebody that just needs to hear this about being coached and being coachable, right? And knowing that, hey, this can make a difference and you can be making that lasting change, that true transformation in yourself. Start with you, invest in who you want to become. I'm so grateful again for you guys joining with me. I'm grateful to be your host here, David Carr of the Intelligent Human Leadership Podcast. And until next time, take good care of yourself and have an amazing day. Thanks for listening.